The waning gibbous moon from July 15th to 19th is more than a phase, it's a spiritual reversal, a cosmic extraction. This week opens a hidden portal that only affects the awakened, the ones who've already begun shedding false timelines, false identities, and soul contracts that were never yours to carry. This moon is pulling you into your reckoning. You don't get to skip this, because this time the moon isn't just showing you the truth, it's making you live it. These next few days are not ordinary, they are sacred instructions in disguise. There are 7 moon rituals you must perform if you want to cross this threshold with clarity, not chaos. Between July 15th and 19th, the waning gibbous moon moves through Capricorn and Aquarius under the influence of Pluto retrograde and the spiritual pressure of Saturn in Pisces. This is no ordinary alignment. Pluto is the underworld gatekeeper, dragging up buried truths, while Saturn forces karmic review, especially from past lives and ancestral timelines. The sun is now aligned with Sirius, the ancient star of resurrection, known in Egyptian mystery schools as the soul of Isis, a divine floodgate of remembrance. When the sun meets Sirius, the veil thins, spiritual DNA activates. We are also moving through the tail of the full moon in Capricorn, a moon tied to structure, legacy, and karmic authority. But now that light is unraveling, pulling you into shadow work. This isn't science, it's spiritual architecture. These movements are mythic echoes, the same forces the ancients read through the Eye of Horus and the Book of the Dead. There's a reason your emotions feel louder than usual, a reason your sleep is fractured, your past feels closer. Your thoughts feel like they're folding in on themselves. You're not falling apart, you're passing through an ancient rite of separation, one the mystics called the unweaving of self. You're shedding timelines that were built on fear, agreements you made in pain, personas you wore just to survive rooms that never saw you, and the waning gibbous moon between July 15th and 19th is not just illuminating those shadows, it's demanding you let them die. This phase is sacred, not soft, sacred. It's what the alchemists called nigredo, the blackening, the dissolving, the divine undoing that must happen before the gold can rise. Your karmic bindings are snapping. Soul contracts that once kept you tied to people, patterns, even lifetimes are unraveling in the background. You may feel untethered. You may feel like you're grieving versions of yourself that never even had a name. That's because you are, and your nervous system is catching up to what your spirit already knows. You are not who you were, and you will never be again. But here's the part no one teaches you. This portal doesn't come to validate who you've been. It comes to provoke who you were always meant to become. And that emergence doesn't feel comfortable. It feels raw. It feels like waking up in a life that suddenly feels too small. Your light body is expanding. Your etheric field is burning off residue from lifetimes where you played small, stayed quiet, chose safety instead of truth. And now you're remembering your original frequency, the one that existed before the programming, before the shame, before the trauma dressed itself as identity. This moon doesn't want your perfection. It wants your permission to let it all fall, to let what's artificial rot, to let what's real rise. If it feels like a death, it's because it is. But what's being born on the other side is the version of you no one's ever met, not even you. The body is already responding to the pull of the waning gibbous moon rituals, even before the conscious mind understands why. There's a strange weight moving through the chest, a sense of emotional gravity pressing against the ribs, not tiredness in the usual way, but a deep cellular unraveling. Muscles ache like they're exhaling years of holding. The spine feels heavy, the breath feels ancient. What's leaving you now isn't new. It's been waiting lifetimes to be released. Sleep is fragmented. Dreams bleed into waking life. Many are rising between 3 and 5 a.m., not out of anxiety, but because the soul is being summoned. The portal is open in the silence, in that in-between. The nervous system hums as if preparing for something unseen. Even stillness feels electric. Emotion comes in waves, sudden tears, unexpected grief, frustration with no name. But these are not breakdowns, they are sacred purges, ancestral echoes moving through your bloodstream, seeking closure. Old emotional contracts bound by silence are breaking open and dissolving. Heat rising up the back, ringing in the ears, tightness behind the eyes. All of it is part of the body's recalibration. You are not disoriented, you are multidimensional. The time distortions, the floating sensations, the dizzy spells, they're symptoms of spiritual altitude shifting. The heart may pound without reason, flutters, pressure, a silent ache in the chest, not a warning, a widening. The emotional heart is stretching to hold frequencies it hasn't held in centuries. This kind of opening is not soft, it's raw and necessary. None of this is random, none of it is wrong. What you're feeling is sacred response. The physical form is decoding memory. The light body is expanding through sensation, and all of it is preparing you for what's coming next. You're not losing control, you're gaining access. Not all transformation is light. Some of it begins in the dark, in the rooms of the psyche, where your voice was silenced, where your power was dimmed, where versions of you still live, frozen in moments that never found closure. The current spiritual shift is peeling back the surface. It's not just awakening your gifts, it's summoning your shadows. The parts of you you've buried under survival, performance, perfection, the parts that never got to speak. The emotional weight rising now is not weakness, it's the return of your exiled self. Trauma that never got witnessed, shame that never got released, fear that never got fully felt. All of it is rising to be cleared. Not with force, but with sacred recognition. The universe is not punishing you, it's creating conditions for your true healing. That is the real work of this lunar descent. Terence McKenna once said, "Nature is not our enemy to be raped and conquered. Nature is ourselves to be cherished and explored." The same is true of your shadow. It's not something to fight, it's something to understand. Within the shadow lives your creative force, your forgotten wisdom, your soul's most unclaimed gold. One of the Waning Gibbous moon rituals is the mirror ritual of remembrance, where you sit with your own reflection by candlelight, not to fix but to face, to see the rage, the grief, the longing, not as flaws but as fragments of your original power. This ritual opens an inner dialogue with the self you've ignored, the self that's been waiting for your return. Another sacred practice is the shadow letter ritual, writing directly to a part of you you've abandoned, the one who stayed quiet, the one who kept the secret, the one who survived what no one saw. You write not to analyze, but to witness, to let them speak, to let them rest. This is not about becoming pure, it's about becoming whole. Your darkness isn't separate from your light, it is the soil that births it. And the spiritual shift now demands nothing less than your full presence, not just for who you're becoming, but for who you've forgotten you already are. A new current has entered the field, not soft, not slow, but electric. The kind of current that dissolves timelines on contact, the kind that reorders everything you thought was stable. This is not chaos, this is the recoding of your essence. The moon in its post-full glow between July 15th and 19th becomes the transmitter. It carries activation light. Its fading shape is not decay, it is instruction. Hidden inside this descent is a sacred ignition. Only the awakened will feel it, as heat in the chest, pressure in the crown, or a sudden sense of time stretching and collapsing all at once. You're not shedding anymore, you're switching on. Energy is no longer clearing, it's crystallizing. Light codes buried in your spiritual DNA are beginning to activate, and with them, forgotten gifts resurface. Not learned but remembered. This is the moment where inner clarity overrides outer noise. The moment the future version of you pulls the current one forward without apology. For many, this awakening moves through the chakras like a wildfire. The root begins to pulse with urgency. The sacral ignites visions, old emotions, new desires. The solar plexus grows magnetic, hungry for authenticity. The heart doesn't ask for love, it becomes love. And the crown, it opens like a flame, taking in solar codes, lunar guidance, the wisdom of stars you've never seen, but always known. This is not about becoming spiritual. It's about embodying the frequency of your original design, before shame, before fear, before you agreed to hide your light, to keep others comfortable. Psychic senses sharpen, intuition becomes non-negotiable. You'll start feeling the truth before it happens, hearing the truth beneath words, touching the field of others before they even speak. Dreams are no longer dreams, they're transmissions. You're not imagining it, you're tuning in. Don't resist the intensity, rise into it. The discomfort you feel is not a warning, it's the contraction before emergence. This is what rebirth looks like for an awakened soul. It's not peaceful at first, it's powerful, it disrupts, it activates, and then it rebuilds you as the version of yourself you were always coded to become. Across the collective field, there's a deep shaking happening. Not loud, not obvious, but felt like a hum in the bones, like an ancient alarm clock ringing beneath the surface of modern life. You feel it while walking through crowds. You feel it in the tension behind conversations. You feel it when you're still and realize the silence isn't empty, it's listening. We're in a spiritual bottleneck. Too much truth has been buried for too long, and now it's forcing its way back into the grid. And when truth returns like this, raw, unfiltered, without costume, it causes friction in systems, in governments, in families, in bodies. What you're experiencing on a personal level is mirrored across the world. This isn't an isolated healing journey. This is soul by soul, nervous system by nervous system, light body by light body, recalibrating an entire species. The waning gibbous phase, often overlooked in astrology, holds the pulse of reflection and responsibility. It's the sacred descent after the full moon when light begins to withdraw, not to disappear, but to initiate deeper vision. And within that descent lies the real work, purification of the collective unconscious. It's no longer about what we see in the world, but what we're willing to confront in ourselves. As the waning gibbous moon moved through Capricorn and Aquarius, it became a channel not just for reflection, but reconfiguration. Capricorn brought up authority wounds, especially around governments, systems, structures. Aquarius opened the floodgates of rebellion. Not chaotic, but visionary. The kind that doesn't scream in the streets, but whispers in meditation rooms, boardrooms, ancestral shrines. And those whispers, they're building a new reality. If your relationships are shifting, if your sense of time is breaking, if your spiritual path feels both sacred and unbearable, it's because your personal field is being rewritten in harmony with the global one. The earth doesn't ascend without the individual, and the individual doesn't expand without the earth. You are not separate from the collective story. You're a sentence in the prophecy. The waning gibbous rituals, especially when practiced in alignment with the current lunar descent, aren't just personal healing tools, they're grid activations. Every time you sit in stillness, speak truth aloud, anoint your body with intention, you're sending signals through the energetic fabric of the planet. You're not performing magic. You are magic. You're reminding the field what real power feels like. One of the most powerful rituals in this window is the offering ritual, returning symbolic energy to the earth. Objects, words, water, ash, charged with gratitude, grief or release, not thrown away but offered. This act sends a ripple through the planetary memory grid, signaling a soul has remembered, a contract has ended, a new oath is being written. This is why the symptoms have been intense, not just physically, but existentially. Many are questioning reality itself. Jobs feel meaningless, roles dissolve, material success loses its seduction. Because once you remember your divine architecture, you stop worshipping artificial structures. You see through them. The global shift is subtle but relentless. Power structures built on distortion are beginning to bend. Truth is leaking through media systems, financial systems, spiritual systems. Some will try to patch the holes, others will learn how to breathe underwater. And those of us who are awake, or in the violent process of waking, are being asked to anchor what hasn't yet been born, not with certainty, but with presence, to become walking temples, to become emotional stabilizers, to become real. The waning gibbous current is sacred because it forces accountability. No more bypassing, no more borrowed beliefs, no more waiting for someone else to save the world. The world is saved every time a soul stops lying to itself. There is a reason so many have felt pressure in the solar plexus, heat in the hands, ringing in the ears. These aren't random symptoms, they're activation codes. The earth is calling forth the original ones, those who encoded light in their bodies before they even incarnated, the ones who agreed to hold memory when the world forgot, the ones who came not to escape the matrix, but to rewrite it. If you've been feeling like you're floating between dimensions, it's because you are. The veil is dissolving, the timelines are folding into each other, and what survives this alchemical compression is what's rooted in truth. Nothing else will hold. The collective ascension isn't a single moment, it's a pattern of moments anchored by humans brave enough to live as soul first, ego second, to burn illusions for fuel, to hold light with both hands and not apologize for how much they shine. The world is not ending, it's waking up, and you, yes, you are a bridge between what was and what's possible. There is a quiet revolution happening, not in institutions, not in headlines, but in breath, in choices, in the small invisible ruptures that happen when a soul chooses truth over comfort, presence over escape. This is the raw terrain of collective awakening, not a performance, not a trend, but a frequency shift anchored through human bodies who remember why they came here. You may not see it, but there are thousands, no millions of souls flickering awake like fireflies across the planet. One moment they're asleep, playing roles they were handed. The next, they're standing in the ruins of an old identity, hearing a voice within that doesn't sound like fear anymore. It sounds like home. This awakening isn't clean. It's not curated. It doesn't always look spiritual. Sometimes it looks like quitting a job in silence. Sometimes it looks like sobbing in a car with no clear reason. Sometimes it looks like deleting everything, changing your name, remembering a language your tongue hasn't spoken since a forgotten life. This is not collapse, this is initiation, and the moon in her waning descent is cradling these changes like a midwife of frequency. She is not judging your pain, she is holding it, transmuting it, whispering ancient instructions into your dreamscape. She knows what the earth is becoming. She knows what you are becoming. More and more are being called to ritual now, not because of belief, but because of memory. The body remembers sacred rhythm. The body knows when it's time to sit in stillness, light flame, offer words. These waning gibbous moon rituals are not aesthetic, they are ancestral. They are how we speak to the field without needing language. One ritual gaining collective strength now is the breath activation ritual. A deep, conscious breathing pattern done under moonlight or candlelight, not to calm, but to call. With each breath, the aura expands. With each exhale, ancestral debris leaves the field. This ritual doesn't just regulate your system, it reprograms your multi-dimensional access. You are not the only one doing this, and that's the point. Every sacred act you commit, whether it's a breath, a prayer, a release, a boundary, a song, becomes a tuning fork for the grid. It sends ripples across the psychic soil of the planet. One soul healed becomes a portal of remembrance for another. One truth spoken gives 10 others the courage to find their voice. That's how the vibration rises. Not all at once, not by force, but by waves, by resonance, by choosing to be clear in a world addicted to confusion. Even those who aren't spiritual are feeling it. They don't have the words, but their bodies are speaking them. Sleepless nights, emotional surges, sudden waves of memory. The spiritual shift doesn't care about belief systems. It cares about frequency, and it is touching everyone now. And yes, resistance is rising too. That's expected. The systems built on control are tightening their grip. The projections are getting louder. The noise, the outrage, the endless false choices. But don't mistake volume for power. The louder the distortion becomes, the closer we are to full collapse. And after collapse comes rebirth, not as fantasy, but as structure, real, embodied, integrated structure. This is where the awakened ones are needed most, not to save, not to convert, but to anchor, to live as examples of what coherence looks like in chaos, to become walking reminders that peace is not passive, it's revolutionary. If you're being pulled away from the mainstream, from the noise, from the drama, let it happen. That's not disconnection, that's reorientation. You're being repositioned, placed on a timeline that better aligns with your soul's chosen coordinates. It may feel lonely at first, but soon you'll find the others. You'll recognize them by their presence, by their quiet power, by the way they look into your eyes like they've known you for lifetimes, because they have. The collective is remembering, not fast enough for the mind, but perfectly timed for the soul. The more you honor your own process, your pain, your clarity, your embodiment, the more you stabilize the new template for everyone else. That's the power of this shift. It's exponential. It moves through resonance, not hierarchy. One aligned person has the power to balance the field of a city. One fully embodied healer can ignite hundreds of dormant ones. One ritual done in truth can echo through generations forward and back. You are not small. You are not behind. You are not late. You are the pulse of an ancient drum that has waited millennia to sound again. And now, with the waning gibbous moon guiding your descent inward, with ritual in your hands and remembrance in your breath, the earth feels you rising. Some shifts can't be mapped with logic. They can only be walked through barefoot, breath held, spine straight, like stepping across fire. The days between the 15th and 19th hold that exact frequency. A stretch of time where the field grows thin and the unseen speaks louder than ever. Not through words, but through memory, through body, through sensation. This moon doesn't ask you to dream bigger. It asks you to die deeper, to release the archetypes you've clung to for safety. the healer who hides their own wounds, the warrior who never rests, the mystic who stays silent to be understood. None of those identities can come with you. Not if you want to live aligned. Integration begins with honesty, not the surface kind, but the ancient kind. The Hermetic teachings spoke of as above, so below, but what they really meant was as within, so without. The rituals matter only when the soul is ready to become them. You are not performing magic, you are embodying it. Start with the breath. Conscious, slow, unapologetic. Breath is the first sacred tool, the first gate of alchemy. When taken with intention, it dissolves energetic debris that no medicine can reach. Every inhale becomes a reclamation, every exhale a surrender. This is not meditation for peace, this is breath for power. Water is the second element of transmutation, not in the bath for self-care sense, but in the shamanic, earth-binding, memory-purging way. Step into water as if you are returning to the womb of the planet. Let it take from you the names you were forced to carry. Submerge and speak what no longer belongs. You don't need a crowd, you need truth. Whispered through ripples, witnessed by the moon. Burning herbs, whether Palo Santo, mugwort, or rosemary, are not for ambiance. They are frequency-carrying allies. In many shamanic traditions, the smoke becomes a language the soul understands. Wave it not just through the air but through your auric layers. Let it pass through the back of the heart, the nape of the neck, the gut. These are the regions where grief hides. This is where release must begin. One powerful ritual during this waning cycle is the mirror of dissolution. Not just gazing, but confrontation. Light a single flame, sit face to face with your reflection. Speak aloud the versions of yourself you're choosing to dissolve, the shadow masks, the inherited fears, the codependent roles. Let them hear their own ending, and then bless them. They kept you alive, but you're not here to survive anymore. The offering ritual becomes especially potent now. Choose a token, a thread of hair, a written memory, dried herbs, an object that carries emotional charge. Infuse it with gratitude, even if it once caused pain. Bury it in soil or release it to running water. This isn't disposal, it's transference. It signals to the grid, a soul has ended an agreement, and a new oath has been made. Stillness, too, is a ritual. In Hermetic circles, it's called the pause of alignment. When no action is needed, only presence. Sit in silence, not to escape, but to listen. The body speaks, the field speaks, your own voice, stripped of conditioning, speaks, and that voice has not lied to you once. Words have frequency. During these days, speak them with reverence. Avoid declarations rooted in old timelines. I always attract chaos. I'm not ready. Nothing works out. These are spells. Shatter them. Replace them with codes. I return to my original frequency. I release all that isn't mine. I anchor in clarity, even when I don't understand. Speak them aloud. Speak them daily. Speak them like you mean it. There is no need for overcomplication. Ritual is not performance, it is presence. It's the decision to choose meaning over numbness, the willingness to let the unseen speak. Don't expect constant peace. Real integration brings chaos before it brings coherence. The body may twitch, the emotions may rage, you may feel lost and found in the same hour. Physical practices can assist. Grounding through bare feet, slow movement, journaling with no filter. But none of them matter unless your presence is whole. Half-hearted ritual is noise, devoted presence is electricity. Some are being called to deeper work, ancestral clearing, bloodline repair, womb remembrance, masculine-feminine rebalancing. If you feel the pull, don't delay. This lunar cycle is holding open a gate that makes transmutation easier than usual, not without pain, but with momentum. You're not starting from scratch, you're starting from truth. These 7 days may feel like a lifetime, and in many ways they are. Lifetimes are closing. Codes are being reactivated. The sacred work you've done across incarnations is being returned to you now, not as memory, but as mastery. You are not just remembering your purpose, you are embodying it. Not every ritual must be elaborate, but every ritual must be real. Even lighting a candle with a clear heart can change your field. Even standing beneath the sky and saying, "I release what no longer serves," can echo across timelines. Let the moon witness you. Let the days ahead be marked by intention, not avoidance. These acts are not optional. If you've asked for expansion, they are how you become the version of yourself who can hold it. You are not just healing, you are leading, quietly, energetically, from within. And the earth, the cosmos, the unseen, they're watching and they are responding. If you felt this in your body, type "no more false timelines" in the comments. Lock it in. Send this to someone whose soul is shifting quietly in the background. Don't keep this energy to yourself. And hey, wherever you are right now, take a breath. You're not late. You're not lost. You're leveling up for